I want to talk about the intricate numerology of Quran and why I think that Quran is a book that was not written by human or was not inspired by a human being. Uh, this is something that many Muslim philosophers they go this route because once you prove that Quran isn't a book written by humans, it opens the door to the fact that the Quran is an inspiration by divinity. So this is similar to what the Christians do to try to prove that Jesus was God, Jesus had done all these miracles. Well, in Islam, the the miracle of Islam is Quran, and there is the Prophet Muhammad did some healing and other miracles, or the Imams they did some, but the main focus in this religion is on this book. Well, the way many numerologists they approach this problem is that the number of words or the number of chapters or the arrangement of the chapters, they have many mathematical relationships with each other, and this book was inspired over a course of 23 years, and would have been impossible for somebody to arrange just a piece of literature in relation to its totality in such an intricate manner so that the number of the words will become like a fraction of 19. Or there is another way of looking at it is that each letter in Arabic, I think in Hebrew also has the same kind of deal, has a number associated with it. I think A is like 1, B is other numbers, and it goes on. They only have 28 letters, and when you play with the numbers or the number of words in each chapter, or you multiply them by this abjad number that's assigned to each letter, then again you come out with all these mathematical relationships that govern the chapters or the totality of Quran, or it just it would be almost impossible for a human to construct such a thing. Uh, well, the only analogy I could tell you is that uh, it would be like as if I constructed a building out of bricks, and then this building has such a quality that if I took one brick out of this building, this whole building would collapse. Okay, you couldn't. Every piece is the totality. It's just like a hologram. Every part of the hologram has all the information of all the other parts. Well, in biology, every cell has all the DNA information of the entire body. So you could take any cell, like a skin cell, and activate certain parts of it, enzymes, and make that cell, in principle, reproduce an eye or a heart, because all the information is written in that gene. Well, these are not the only, like I would call it miraculous mathematical aspects of Quran. There's a lot of stuff, scientific knowledge that's also kind of encoded in Quran. For example, the uh, first surah is like the way it's organized is like the layers of the planet Earth, and in the middle of the surah, just like in the middle of the planet Earth there is iron, then the word iron shows up. It's just the number of coincidences is impossible that it would be a coincidence. Either these coincidences could be mathematical or all kinds of mathematical constants or constants of nature. They show up in different chapters. It just boggles the mind. For example, on the chapter 16, which is about bees and how God created the bees and what they're doing. Well, the chapter 16 is the bees, but the number of the genes in the chromosome of bees is 16. Then the number 16 shows up in so many ways in this surah. I mean, the person whoever this person or this ghost was that designed or wrote this had had a very intimate knowledge of bees, or had a very intimate knowledge of planet Earth, and he knew that the core of the Earth is mostly iron. Like, but this number of these coincidences is just mind-boggling. In fact, there is a huge literature in Islamic world in the YouTube that just goes over these things, numerology of Quran, the interrelationships of chapters. Uh, it just is way beyond anything that you could find in Bible. So that's kind of if you are a mathematician or a philosopher or a scientist, it's like somebody took a gun to your head and was like taking you through step by step of a mathematical exposition. Like, this is the proof. It is like you cannot go this way, you cannot go that way, you cannot. It just battles you or railroads you to only certain conclusions that, hey, this is what this is very weird. It is Quran is a synthetic structure. Is like the scientists, after a lot of studying the moon, finally came to the conclusion that, hey, moon is not really a natural planet. It's actually a spacecraft. Somebody constructed this thing, and it perfectly can eclipse the sun, and it was situated in only certain distance, and it has a certain dimension, certain weight. It influences the development of life on the planet. How many coincidences can you have in a structure before somebody comes to a definitive conclusion that this structure is not natural? The Quran isn't a natural creation, even though it's very old. The same with the moon. Moon is not a natural constructed body. So this is the way God or whoever, the ghost, the quantum computer that designed this thing, kind of beckons the people and forces them to look at these ideas, look at the other aspects of Quran that has other messages, other spiritual messages. While the Sunnis, they don't believe in the imams, or, because Prophet Muhammad said, after I pass away, I leave you the book and the etrat. Etrat means my family, the imams, the 12 imam, and there is there is a lot of reasons to believe that the imams were the mahasal al kitab. Mahasal means you might have a seed, a grain, and you plant it. And when you're planting this seed, you don't know how the plant will look like after it grows. But the fruit of a tree, basically, is the imam, the ultimate manifestation of what the book is trying to do or trying to teach. I have another video. It's called Manifestations of Consciousness, which means it talks about chakras and the centers that we have in the human body, and when they activate, each one of them have many qualities. It's like you have entered another world. For example, certain person can be in the mental world, only try to understand the world by reason. But there are other people that are psychic, and they understand the world by the energies that are attached to living beings or to objects. Well, the artist would understand the world by emotions, by sentiments, by love. So each one of these are centers that exist in the human body. Like if you study human history, you see that there is like each civilization, as it progresses, manifests one aspect of humanity, one chakra. For example, we could say that the older civilizations like the Romans, they were more focused on bodily or strength and the military aspects of the humanity or human body. And the Greeks were more attached to reason, try to understand the world with reasoning, or try to correlate aspects of reality. And then later civilizations, they they were more focused on spiritual. But the Persian or Iranian civilization is always very spiritual, very other aspects of the world rather than reason is focused or emphasis. And the Indian civilization, you can see they're more focused on like basically the psychic or medical even aspects of human body, or their civilization was composed of many people that thought that way. Okay, so some of these ideas are kind of complicated. I kind of struggle because there isn't the culture here in Western world that can deal with these ideas. Anyhow, this brings us other ideas. Is that there are beings in the universe that they are like detached minds. They are. Imagine you have a quantum computer, but this quantum computer doesn't really reside in a little box with the electronic components, but it is really has been transported to some type of space ether. It exists in a diffuse way in the universe. And this computer is really what the universe is, or what this original computer created are beings that are all similar to itself. Well, for example, when computers were developed, uh, they were developed in many stages. Well, one of the better computers that the mathematician Babbage developed was a mechanical computer. Okay, it was made not from electronic parts, but it was made from mechanical objects or connectors, and it worked. But he couldn't build the better model. He built one, but he couldn't build the better one because the tolerances were not something that they could do with the machining that they had at the time. But later on, the British developed their machine fabrication, and they from the blueprint they made another Babbage's computer, and it worked. But this computer is very slow in comparison to the older electronics that were made with kind of like kind of like light bulb. What they call those electronic tubes? They were analog computers, and they were made of all these parts that were not electronic, but they were kind of like electrical parts. And then as we progressed, we started making computers from circuit boards and flip-flops, stuff like that, transistors. And then now we are making computers that are made from elements that can have many states, and and they're connected in many ways with each other. So each circuit can do millions of calculations. You don't need a lot of parts, but each part is like a human brain cell. Human brain cell is like a flip-flop, but this flip-flop can have many states and also connected in many ways, the neurons with each other. So it has a very amplifying effect when you do calculations. With the regular binary computers, you only are stuck with two states of a flip-flop. That's why they call it a flip-flop. But with the brain cells and with the quantum computers, each component can take at least three, maybe more states. So what this doesn't have to end here. It probably won't. The future computers can do millions of calculations, and the components don't have to be physical. This is something difficult for many scientists to comprehend, because they are reductionists. They try to break everything to components and then use the combination of these components to arrive at the larger computation. Well, I read in some of the books that were written about extraterrestrials, and this is gonna sound really bizarre, but I'm just gonna run it by you. He was saying that these ETs, they have such large brains. They have such control over consciousness that this consciousness can grab particles that are that are on other dimensions and manipulate them, make them particles that are on the physical world, and make spacecraft, make a piece of electronic, make something physical out of them. And the scientist that was studying them was saying that, in fact, some of the UFOs are made like this. This is bizarre idea, but there is some evidence for it. Uh, well, on another video, I was talking about other dimensions. That when you take a photo of an atom, say if you could take photo of a hydrogen atom, and you see that the electrons are localized around the atom. Like one is here, and you see a little cloud here, like 3, 4. But in between the clouds, there is nothing. It is because either the electron is traveling in another dimension, and that dimension doesn't interact with photons, so we cannot see it. There is no bouncing of photons. Or the electron itself is like an animal. There are some animals that have bits and pieces of many different animals, like platypus. I think that's I'm not saying the word right. It's an animal that's kind of mammal, kind of like a fish, has kind of, has remnants of wings. You know what I mean? The electron is something like that. It kind of changes, or it goes into another dimension, and then it emerges on the other side in this other electron or photon cloud, and you see it again. Well, this scientist was saying something like that. He was saying that the consciousness is part of the universe, and it can manipulate the physical universe, but not the physical universe that we can see right away, but there are other dimensions, and this consciousness can go in there and manipulate it. Well, there is some literature in Christianity that saying that Jesus came in and changed the water to wine, and like there was another one that was saying that there was this one of the disciples, the Romans had thrown him in the jail, and he would cross the solid prison wall and appear on the other side. It's just like a electron tunneling, or tunneling through the nucleus of atom. Some particle can tunnel out, appear on the other side, because everything is probabilistic. But these weird ideas, even though they look very strange, I mean well, actually I have many spiritual experiences, and I don't talk about a lot of them because I don't want to end up in a mental hospital or become more discredited than I already am. Or you can tell from some of my number of my views on some of my videos. But hey, I do okay in other ones. This brings us to another topic, that there are detached minds or detached quantum computers in the universe, and Quran could only have been generated by a computer like that, and the fact that it was put together from many sentences and revelations over a course of 23 years shows that the quantum computer that generated this piece of literature had a pretty complete control of life of Prophet Muhammad, and you could even venture out to say that the life of people, the life of society or civilizations are a simulation that's going on in the mind of God, in this quantum computer. This is a very outrageous idea, but quantum physics brings us out to this place. But the religion, or legitimate religion, also brings us out to this same place. I don't want to go on this road anymore on this video because why I, I don't want to be accused of creating some new. Never mind. Well, thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel, and please subscribe. Don't be shy, and leave comments, stuff like that. Some feedback is nice. Thank you.